in person as well as online sessions. And this community of practice was started during the COVID lockdown, that is way back in April 2020. So very soon we are going to be 5 years. This platform is going to be 5 years old. And the idea was then to come online to support one another, because there were schools which were grappling with the idea of online education. They had no idea how to do that. Whereas there were some other partner schools of Adhyayan, which were already very well versed with technology, which were already doing blended learning. So the only way forward was to support one another. So we got the schools which were tech savvy to support the others who were struggling. So that is how this whole idea of community of practice started. And we've had educators and school leaders from not just across the country, but even from outside the country joining us. And we've had a huge, um, uh, you know, huge number of educators who have become a part of this regularly. They attend very regularly, because this really made a lot of they helped them bring a lot of change in their schools. The idea was to come, learn, talk to one another, put our brains together, understand, go back, try something, and come back and again say, this is what helped, this is what worked, and this is what was challenging. So the whole idea was just to kind of help one another, because as educators, it's only we who can help each other. So that was the whole idea. So today's community of practice session is going to be led by Heeru Bhojwani. Thank you, Heeru, for joining us here
Thank you
today.
very much.
Heeru is a school library consultant with over 25 years of experience in international and IB curriculum. She is the co-founder of the Librarian Association. She will be talking about Librarian Association towards the end of today's session. Her interests are meta-literacy, which entails reading, writing, ethical use of information, media literacy, AI tools, and project-based learning that mirrors real life. Heeru is currently with the American School of Bombay. And so we are keen to listen to you, Heeru, on
Thank
ethical use
you.
of information. And over to you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for joining in. It's truly a pleasure to be here and to share my little world with you. I'm going to share my screen very shortly. Um, so today's topic is really, I see some friends already on my screen, and those people who I already know, you know who I'm talking about. This will be nothing new for you, but you're welcome to chip in and share your expertise with all of us as we begin to talk about the topic how to avoid plagiarism and ethical use of information. So today's session is going to cover the following. Basically, we will talk about what is plagiarism, ethical use, and what does Librarian Association do. So I'm going to begin with a few scenarios, and I'm going to have you be a part of this conversation and tell me whether this is plagiarism or not. And you can unmute your mic and just share your thoughts. Can someone help me read the first scenario?
Can I read?
Yes, please,
Yes, please go
Aishwarya.
ahead.
Thank you.
Yes. Anika is writing a project about the Taj Mahal. She finds a great paragraph on a website and copies it word for word on into her project without mentioning the website. It's plagiarism.
Is this plagiarism?
Yes, it is.
Correct. Yes, this is plagiarism. Copying someone else's work word for word and presenting it as your own, even if it's just one paragraph, it is plagiarism. Anika should have used this information in her own words or used quotation marks and cited this source. Let's look at another one. Who's going to read scenario 2?
Yeah, I
Somebody else?
can take this up.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Aditya is making a presentation about Mahatma Gandhi. He finds a picture of Gandhi online and includes it in his presentation. He writes image from Google under the picture. Is this plagiarism?
What do you think?
Um, well, even like to a certain extent, but I think we can use pictures from Google. That is
Yep,
always possible. He's also mentioned that that image is from Google, but he hasn't mentioned where it's from. What's the actual link? So
absolutely. You are 100% right. Well done. So, not entirely, that's correct. Like you said, you can copy the image, but it's incomplete. You need to tell the actual source of the image or the name of the original website. If you know the photographer's name, it is better to give credit to the photographer. Next one. Kamini, would you like to read, please?
Yeah, sure. Simran, am I audible?
Yes, Kamini.
Simran is writing a report about the different states of India. She finds a table with information about each state on a website. She copies the table directly into her report and says the information is from the internet. Is this plagiarism?
What do you all
Yes,
think?
yes, it is plagiarism because internet is just a very wide source of information, and if the data was already, analyzed and given, so the source should have been cited.
Absolutely. Fabulous. Copying a table, even if it's factual information and it is someone else's work, saying it is from the internet is too vague. It's like saying, oh, I got this information from a book. That's vague. You need to cite the specific website where she found the table. Well done. Next one. Who's going to read the next one?
Can I still go ahead and read it?
Yes, please.
Rahul is writing a poem. He reads a poem by Rabindranath Tagore and is inspired by the imagery. His poem is about nature, but it's completely different from Tagore's poem in terms of words and structure. Is this plagiarism? No, I don't think this is plagiarism because he's taken, inspiration from his work, but I still feel that, yeah, okay, yeah, it's not.
Are you still feel?
I mean, I thought still should have given some credit that he's taken the work, got inspiration, but yeah, it's not plagiarism per se.
Yes, it is not plagiarism. And yes, you do not have to necessarily even give credit to Tagore if you don't want to. For example, lots of stories are written about ants or about whales. It's always inspired from another, but once the structure and the content is put together or strung together differently, it is not plagiarism. But this is a poem, so different poems, stories, everything has a little bit different. It's differently nuanced, so we just have to be very careful. All right, so we'll move on to the next one. Who's going to read number 5?
Pooja is researching the history of cricket in India. She reads several articles and books. She then writes her own report using the information she learned and cites all the sources she used. Is this plagiarism? No, it's not.
Fantastic. Pooja has done the correct thing. She has put every information in her own words and she has cited all the sources. And this is really good research practice. Next one. I think this is the last one. Who would like to help me read?
Can I read?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Aryan finds a really good introduction to a report on climate change online. He copies the first paragraph word for word into his own report, but then he puts the rest of the report in his own words and cites his sources for other information. I mean, it's not plagiarism, but for the first, if he has not paraphrased the first paragraph, so I'm a little unsure. But since he has still given the source in credit, I'm a little 50-50 about this.
What does somebody else think? Any other comments, suggestions, ideas?
Yes, this is plagiarism because Aryan copied a paragraph word for word without citation. So, to avoid this, he should either paraphrase with a citation or use quotation marks with proper referencing.
Fantastic. Well done. Even the first paragraph must be cited, which he didn't. Oops, one more. Rohan. Thank you. That is correct. Let's have Rohan now. Who's going to read Rohan's story?
Can I read, madam?
Yes, please.
Horan is researching ancient Indian mathematicians. He finds a sentence in a book that he likes. He changes a few words but keeps the basic structure of the sentence. He doesn't mention the book. Is this a plagiarism? I believe so. I believe it is a plagiarism because he took information. He did not refer the source. So it's of course a plagiarism, even if after that he used his own words.
That's correct. That's correct. This is plagiarism. Even though he changed some words, he still copied the sentences and the core idea without giving credit to the original author. This is called paraphrasing without citation, and it is still plagiarism. So you can paraphrase. Even if you paraphrase, you need to provide the citation. What Rohan should have done is, this is one option. He should have written it like this. Rohan could have written something. According to Dr. Singh, in the book, Mathematics Theory, Aryabhatta made blah, blah, blah. And if he, and then he copies this, page 39, then he puts the ideas into his own words. That's one way of doing it. And the other way he could have done is, if he wanted to exactly copy it, then he would have put it in quotation marks like this. This is called in-text citation. And he should have put the page number over here. So what is plagiarism? Anybody would like to try?
Ma'am, copying someone's work without giving them due credit.
Yes, absolutely. The practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as your own. According to Oxford Dictionary, that is the definition. What is cheating? You can read it on the screen. When you act dishonestly and unfairly to gain an advantage. And there are different kinds of cheating. We are not getting into that today because that's another workshop altogether to understand what is cheating. So before we move forward, I'm going to pause a little bit. Do you have any questions about all that we talked about, the examples that you looked at? Do you have any questions regarding that? Because if everything is clear, we can move ahead. Otherwise, I'm happy to pause and take some questions at this point.
I had a question. I'm
Yes.
Sheetal. I
Yes.
wanted to ask that whenever we use any words or anyone's work, do we have to provide in-text citation only, or if we mention even in bibliography, it works?
It really depends on what the product is. So if you're doing a research paper, yes, you have to do in-text citation. If you are in a school and you're doing a presentation for your children, it is not required because you're using it for educational purposes. So it really depends on what the purpose of your writing is. If you are writing it for a magazine, an educational magazine, it would give more credibility to your name and your role by providing in-text citation. Yes. Professionally, the answer is yes.
Okay.
I too had a question.
Yes, Sabha.
Is it okay to use different methods of citation throughout the work, or if we are sticking to only giving like in-text citation, if I give in-text citation for the first paragraph, do I have to continue the method throughout, or I can
Yes.
use multiple ways?
Okay. Again, How to do the citation will be another workshop that you can connect to Jayashree and she will arrange for another workshop. There are basically three major types or kinds of citation: APA, MLA, and Chicago. There are three major types. There are many different kinds. It's like you're wearing salwar kameez, sari, and a dress. So if you're following the sari format, you will follow all the things of a sari. You can't have half sari, half salwar kameez, and half Chicago style. You have to follow the rules of one citation style. So if you're using APA, then you follow APA style throughout. In-text citation is done in a special way, and then end of the article or the research paper, you have the APA style of citation that you need to follow. But you can't do half MLA, half Chicago style, half APA, not allowed. There is a particular structure to it. So to answer your question, yes, you have to give your in-text citation and that has to be followed throughout the whole paper. Yes.
Thank you. That helps.
Anything else? Anybody doing a research paper right now, or anybody thinking of writing a paper for the magazine or anything?
Yes, ma'am.
I
I'm
am
doing this.
actually.
Sorry.
Yes. Oh, lovely. So if you have
Can I
any
continue,
questions,
please?
yes, please,
Yes,
Nilza.
I do.
Yes.
So I am doing my dissertation right now, and I'm working these days with the citations and everything. So, which are the things that I should take care on referencing citations on the literary work on MLA?
Okay. The
Because we
first
have
thing,
many kinds of yes, thank
yes. So the first thing you need to is check with your supervisor if they want you to follow MLA 8, MLA 7, 8, or 9. Once you know which of those he or she wants you to follow, then you follow the same style throughout your paper. And if you're writing a paper, it is very important to have your research covering different sources. So you do research using journals, books, electronic ebooks, journals, I said journals, other papers, newspapers. So make sure you have a variety of academic journals that you refer to in different formats to be included into your paper, and they all must be cited under MLA, but you have to check with your supervisor whether it's 8, 9, or 7, 8, or 9. Because
thank you very much.
every school or college or university has their own rules.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, the window for questions is going down. Yes, Madhuja. Madhuja, did you have a question? All right. The window is closing and I'm going to move on. All right. And if you have any more questions, you're welcome to connect with me after, and I'm happy to share after the workshop.
You can also put it in the chat box.
Yes,
so
please.
we'll come back.
Thank you. Yeah. So what is intellectual property? This is a definition. Creations of mind, such as invention, literary work, artistic works, everything has an intellectual property and everything is copyrighted. Even if you do not see the copyright sign on the internet, you must assume that somebody has created it and it is copyrighted. We have no right to take someone else's work without giving due credit. When I teach my standard 1 students about intellectual property or plagiarism, I ask them to draw a sheet of paper. On a sheet of paper, I ask them to draw something, their favorite artwork. And everyone spends about 15-20 minutes coloring their favorite artwork. Then I take the best one and I turn around and tell the children, guess what? I made this. Do you think that's fair? Standard 1 children who are 6 years old understand right away that that is not fair. You cannot take Pooja's work and say it's yours, Mrs. Bhojwani. It's not correct. So they understand the meaning of plagiarism. So To understand the ethical use of information, we have to understand these 4 terminologies: plagiarism, copyright, license, and attribute. So when we are using other people's work, it is very important for us to attribute it. We must also know what kind of license they have put out of their work and whether it's copyrighted or not. So before I move forward, how can someone help me answer this question? How do you avoid taking someone else's work without copy and pasting it? Any ideas, suggestions?
We can take inspiration and maybe rewrite it in our own words.
That's correct. That's number 1. Fantastic. What else?
And take the work as it is, but give credits.
Yes. And even if you take the words as it is, then a particular sentence, if you take it as it is, you must put that sentence in quotation marks.
In quotes,
whether it is 1 sentence, 10 sentences, or 5 sentences, we must put that in quotation marks.
Right.
Correct. Fantastic. What else?
Usually in art, people use other artworks as references and then they follow, like use those references to make something of their own. Does that come under this?
Yes, but you have to still cite it.
But if we are just using them as references, then
If you're using it as references to create a background understanding of the topic, then the answer is no. For example, I am writing a paper on Shivaji. I'm reading 30 books or maybe 2 videos I'm watching, but I am not going to, that is just helping me to create my background information about Shivaji in my head. I'm not
correct.
going to cite it. But if I'm going to use something from that video to write in the paper, then I will have to cite it.
Okay, understood.
Anybody else?
Note taking.
Yes, note taking, Kamini. Thank you. So the first thing you need to do is you read, then you understand what you're reading. Then, like Kamini said, you make notes. You select words and phrases and you make notes out of it in your book. Then you cover the original piece of work and then you rewrite your points and understanding. And finally, you cite your sources. This is called paraphrasing. Now let's practice this. Okay, I'm going to show you how I do it with my children at school. Here is a paragraph from the internet. Okay, tigers are fascinating, blah, 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 everything about tigers. So then what I did was, tiger stripes are unique, like the human fingerprint. Each tiger stripe pattern is one of a kind. I have made my own notes and highlighted these words. Tigers can use their ears to communicate. A tigress uses white spots on the back of her ears to communicate with the cubs. So these are the phrases that I have understood and written. It can be different for different people. I got this from Wikipedia. Then I've written it in my own words. According to World Wildlife Organization, so I'm already telling you where I got my information from. Tigers are interesting, strong, and powerful animals. Then the fingerprint is unique. All of this I have rewritten using my own words, and I've added the source over here only because it is a presentation PowerPoint. If it was a written paper, it would have looked different. This is just paraphrasing. Any questions regarding paraphrasing? All right. So we go to summarizing. Who can help me read what is summarizing?
Cambridge Dictionary.
Yes.
To express the most important facts or ideas about something or someone in a short and clear form.
That's correct. So if I'm going to summarize, this is how I summarized the tigers. Similarly, even earning a Guinness World Record. So whole article was summarized talking about the tiger. And this is the way I've work cited it. When I use the word work cited, that will indicate to the researcher I have used MLA 8. All MLA citation will use work cited and not the word reference. If you are using APA, then you will use the word reference instead of work cited. These are some of the rules of the different forms or styles of citation. So when you are writing a paper, this is what we need to teach ourselves and our children. Paraphrase, summarize, add your own insight, and always attribute your sources and give credit to your sources. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am, please. I have a doubt here. So if I use cited, is only about the style that I'm using, but not about the work or the work that I'm citing.
No.
Or maybe we
So
have
in that
like
work cited, it will tell you where you got that information from. The work cited includes the title of the book, the author's name, the publication, the copyright, and the where the place is published. So there's a format that you will have to follow, and you can do it electronically free online using BIP citation or Cite This For Me, or you can use Grammarly citation. There are many tools on the internet that you can use that are free. Again, if you're interested to learn the details of citation, please contact Jayashri ma'am and we can have another session. This is just a general information about it.
Yes, that is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilza. Any other questions? All right. With that, we move on. How many of you know what is, have you seen this before? Creative Commons licenses?
I know a bit of license. So when let's say that I finish my paper and I got a license or I have licensed it for no one else can use any board or anything that is in my paper by their own without citing it or without referring to it.
Okay. So Creative Commons licenses an organization where their philosophy is that everything in the world should be shared. Of course, not everyone believes in that. There are publishers who think they should be copyrighted and they should be sold. There are other people who believe, a school of people who believe, a school of thought is that everything should be either fair use or copyrighted. Other educators or people in the industry think everything should be copyrighted so we can sell it and we can make money. Then there's another school like Wikipedia who believes everything should be free and available to everybody to learn, because with sharing, there is a growth in knowledge and understanding. These are 4, 5 different schools of thought. Again, we cannot get into that. So I'm going to share my screen again. So there is this organization called Creative Commons License, which allows you to decide what kind of license do you want to offer to the world. So for example, my library website is only attribution. That means you must credit the creator, the title, and the license of the work. That means it's free. It has to be non. And if you see this sign, you can take it, but you can use it for non-commercial purpose. Then there are other people who have this license. It looks like this. It means you can attribute it, you can share it, you can use it, but you have to give credit to the person. And when you create it, you can't make derivatives out of it. You cannot reuse it in another form. Share alike is, it has a Creative Commons license. That means you can share, somebody else can copy it, you can use it, but you must also give the same license of share alike to others. And this one is public domain. That if you see this symbol on the right hand side, that means it is in the public domain and you can copy it, reuse it, and do anything you want with it. For example, Cinderella. Have you read the story Cinderella? Have you seen the book
Yes.
Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen? David Copperfield? All of these books are in the public domain. So many publishers who want to get into business take that was copyrighted is over 75 years. Every copyright product has a life. Some have 75 years, some have 85 years, some have 35 years, depending on the product. So things like David Copperfield, Pride, Prejudice, Cinderella, all of those books, Heidi, are all in the public domain. Publishers take that word to word and they publish it and make books and sell it to everybody. So books are in the many thousands of books are in the public domain, which can be reprinted and reused. If you and I create something, you have all of the different type of licenses that you can choose to do. If I write a book, which I have written a book, it is copyrighted. But if I put it on and if I want it to be share alike, I can put that license on my book so people can reprint it and share it and sell it and do what they want with it. So it's very important to see what license is attributed to the product. Simply said, I tell my children in school, everything on the internet is put by a human being. So it is copyrighted. When in doubt, cite it. That is a basic rule to follow. Because somebody's put it there, hasn't it? Isn't somebody put it there? So obviously, a human being has put it there. Therefore, it needs to be cited. Any questions? Again, if you want to know more about Creative Commons licenses, this is the website. And with all the details on it, I'm happy to explain some more later. And if you want to create your own license, you can click on these licenses and then you can choose the license that you want to add. So you can create it here. It gives you all the information and you can create your own on this website. Again, this will take another 1 hour to talk about it. So this is just to let you know there's something like Creative Commons site that you could use. And you can create your own licenses of your work using the Creative Commons. If you want to copyright it, you can add that sign to your work, whatever work you do, online or a digital product, not a digital product, anything you like. Any questions before I move on? This is a lot of heavy stuff. Again, today we are not talking of large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, and all of that. We will talk about that in another session because there is an ethical way of using the large language models. Basically, you have to cite it. Any questions? How many of you are in the CBSE school over here or related to CBSE schools?
I am presently, but I'm in Dubai in
Yeah.
GEMS Education CBSE branch.
Oh, fantastic. All right. So I've got few thumbs up. The truth is CBSE in its policy has said that all teachers are welcome to use the AI tools, large language models, and you need to give credit to it. However, all students are not permitted to use artificial intelligence or large language models in schools unless they cite it. The government doesn't have a clear mandate yet for students in the CBSE. However, every school, I'm sure, has an academic integrity policy which will take care of those needs. So the first thing, if you are a head of an institute in this session today, I urge you to please think about creating an academic integrity policy for students, teachers, and the community when using large language models like ChatGPT and other tools. And that's another whole conversation. I think Jayashree will reach out to you and let you know when we are having that. So this is the CBSE document. You probably have all seen it. And they talk of artificial intelligence being integrated in the curriculum. And they are talking in terms of using bots, learning how to create bots and how they can use bots to learn. So there's a lot of information about, if you look at this page, the contents, it tells you about how they want teachers to use AI tools to have the desired outcomes. Personalized learning, assessment, all of that has been suggested. However, there is no clear statement as how and why the children can use it. That's not really very clear, but they have mandated that everyone can use artificial intelligence or large language models when creating lesson plans or teaching students or providing knowledge to students. This is interesting. So yes, we talk about plagiarism. Are there any people who have plagiarized? If you go to Wikipedia, you will find thousands of people who have plagiarized. 70 research papers from 204 to 207. These are the names of all these famous people that have plagiarized. I got this information from Wikipedia. So check out plagiarism in India and you will find professors, doctors, all have plagiarized. What's interesting is you have also seen a lot of plagiarism that's happened in the Bollywood sector. So I'm just going to copy these and you're welcome to look at it at your own time. N. Shyamalan, who's written, had an 81 million suit. South Korean president has a thesis which is plagiarized. Brazil court order, a song was plagiarized. Anant Mahadev for Lapata Ladies, plagiarism. Kamala Harris accused of plagiarism. Nirmala Sitharaman. Congress's election manifesto has been plagiarized. So these are Kalki has been said to have plagiarized the work. So there are lots of examples in the world that talks about plagiarism. These are some 9 infamous literary scandals of Jacqueline. Alex Haley his work has been sued. J.K. Rowling, T.S. Eliot, Dan Brown. So there are lots of people having plagiarism suits going on. I'm going to put this in the chat. So if you're interested, you all can enjoy looking at things that are plagiarized. Any questions before we move on?
Can I go back and ask a question about?
Yes.
So now we do not do anything without going to ChatGPT and ask for or get some
Yes.
extra resulting. So how will I make citation on ChatGPT? So I made one example. I made one whole class plan, and 70% of my work was done in ChatGPT. How I go about the plagiarism?
Okay. I am going to share. So there is an AI tool citation. All right. So here is a free citation generator. You decide the style that you want to cite your source, whether it's APA, MLA, or Chicago. I'm going just to MLA. I'm going to this. I'm going to say it's a generative AI. What is the prompt that I use? Help me create. So it was about, the prompt title was about create a lesson plan for grade 5 about imagery. Give me examples that I can use for my grade 5 5 students. That was my prompt. I'm just imagining it, okay? The product name that I used was ChatGPT 3.5. Sorry. The company I is OpenAI. What is the date I did it? Maybe I did it last month. ChatGPT will give you a URL. You post the URL here. This is not the correct URL. 3.5 model. And then on the right-hand side, if you notice very clearly, you have your citation right here. You see it here? You copy the citation and you put it right here. There you go. This is what it is going to look like in an MLA citation. Just going to make it a little bigger so you can see it. There you go. Make sense?
Yes, totally. Thank you.
Yeah. So the idea of citing is basically to give credit where credit is due. Number one, you're building a trust with your readers. Number three, you're also being transparent about your sources of your information. Eventually, all said and done, the human being is responsible for the work that he creates. So even if you have used ChatGPT, you have definitely read over everything. And if there is a bias or there is somebody who says, oh, this is wrong, and Jayashree just going to pick you and say, Jayashree, this is wrong. You say, I got from ChatGPT. What can I do? You can do. You are responsible for the work. You are liable for the work that you have put out. Whether it's biased, whether it's right, wrong, correct, you are responsible and you will be held accountable for that information that is put out. So anything that you see on social media, which is not given credit, I would say it's crap. I'm sorry to use that language. It's rubbish. It's a waste of time. It is biased. It has no credibility, and I would never trust it. Anything that doesn't have a citation like, oh, there is going to be a new disease that is coming out. There is going to be a new COVID. I'm not going to pay attention if I don't have any credible source. They might even say that, oh, Dr. So-and-so said that. Suppose someone says, Dr. Heeru Bhojwani said that there's going to be a third world, there is a third COVID coming up. I am going to Google it and study it. Don't take anything at face value. Anything you take as face value this is the biggest problem of the 21st century is misinformation, disinformation, and wrong information. Again, that's another sentence, another session altogether. So what happens? These are some of the consequences. You'll be thrown out of a position, lots of grants, funding, reputation is at stake, legal action, which is very rare in India because we are educators and we are educating students at school. We kind of get away because nobody has a tie. But if you are doing business, then there can be legal action and you will be held responsible and you'll have to take it forward from there. So it is very, very important for every educational institution that you are working in to find out what is the academic integrity of your school policy. And it's very good to read it and learn about it. And just FYI, you work so hard at school. Sorry, somebody said something.
No, I don't think.
Okay, so you work so hard, you create all these lesson plans, you create a lot of notes and everything for your school that you are working in. And then you say that your work is copyrighted. Yes, it is. But there is also a clause in your educational institution that anything that you create in the school belongs to the school. It is definitely in fine print, so don't even bother saying, but I work so hard, it's all my work. Yes, it is your work. Yes, you can take it out, but it belongs to the school. You can recreate it and reproduce it and do what you want with it, but the stuff is actually belongs to the school. Not a good thing to hear, but that's the truth. I'm going to move on. So what is Librarian Association? Librarian Association is a group of it's a group of librarians that started it. I am the co-founder. We have several professional development workshops that we hold for educators and librarians. And these are some of the modules that we have: crafting a policy, engaging a library curriculum, learning to create your library website, understanding the profiles and 21st century skills, evaluating media and fake news, power of picture books, both for educators and library. How do you do research skills? How do you teach it? Understanding copyright and fair use, how to build a purposeful calendar, the power of pictures, and the role of librarians in the extended essay and TOK, Theory of Knowledge, if you're in an IB school. We also have professional services, very personalized for training librarians, helping to build libraries, and professional coaching one-to-one for librarians and educators. We are also having a conference in Pune, which is coming up on the 8th of March. This is the theme, Nurturing Curiosity to Action. Here are the topics that will be discussed. So if you are an enterprising school librarian or you want to share the message, these are the workshops that will be shared on the 8th of March. I'm going to share this on the chat and you're welcome to look at it. And with that, I end. That's my works cited. And I'm going to pause because I think it's time. And I'm going to take questions. I have lots more to talk about, but I can go on forever. But I'm being very cautious and alert about the time.
Yeah, we have about 8 minutes. And yeah, the floor is open for questions, more questions.
I don't really have a question, just a comment actually, if that's
Yes,
all right.
Sabha. Yes, absolutely, Sabha.
Yeah, when I was a student in my college and we were studying literature, our teacher once mentioned that Shakespeare also plagiarized. But then, since they didn't have any rules, it was all right. Romeo and Juliet is a very popular folklore, which he just very took the liberty of taking and altering. But she also mentioned that he made something great out of it, which the folklore did not do. So I thought it was. But she also mentioned something very important then, which never made sense to me. She said, after the death of an author, after 10 years of the death of the author, the work usually goes in the public domain. That's what she had mentioned. But now it made more sense.
Yes, but not 10 years. 10 years is very little. It's about 75 years, 65 to 75 years. And also it depends on which country the work is published. So if you look at the international, I'm just taking the international intellectual property rights internationally, then it is about 65 to 75 years. But again, different countries have different rules. So America has different, Europe has different, India and Japan have different rules as well. So it really depends which country you are publishing your work from. So even if you look at the ISBN of any book at the back, so ISBN numbers are, some of the books are published in India and they say for the Indian subcontinent, that because they have bought the rights to publish and print in India under certain category and for certain number of years. So everything is legally done when they say these books are available in the Indian subcontinent and things like that.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Since we have a little time, I'm happy to share one more slide with you. I think you might be interested. It's about the large language models like ChatGPT and So what I did was we created a poster like this. I don't know if it's very clear or not to you, where you tell the children how they can use ChatGPT. So what they can do with ChatGPT and other Gen AI tools and what you cannot do. So it's very important for them to assess and evaluate the sources. Even if it comes out of ChatGPT, all of them are not the same. Although and here do paraphrase and summarize in your own words and always cite your sources, even if it is Gen AI. And what you can't do is have Gen AI write for you. And if I write Gen AI to write for me and I publish it or use it, then I am using somebody else's work. However, there's a little caveat I've learned is as we are progressing, I am hearing, I have not seen it in India right now as we speak today. It may be there tomorrow, I don't know. As I speak, there is no copyright for AI generated work. However, in the US, they have started saying that if I created work from generative AI and again, they're not saying how much percentage, then I can copyright that work, even if I'm using generated AI work. But that is only in the US, not in India yet. So that's just new information.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you want to watch another video or you're going to talk? I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to show you another video.
We could have a video, I think.
Yes.
That might generate a couple of questions.
All right, perfect. Let me put this question. It is quite nerve-wracking. Can you hear it?
No, we can't hear.
All right, just a second. I will share. And how do I share sound? Perfect. Got it. I'm in Zoom time now.
To scroll through other people's images, videos, writing, and artwork. We might even want to use. When we go on the internet, it's common to scroll through other people's images, videos, writing, and artwork. We might even want to use them for projects in school or at home. And we might think, I found it online, so it's mine. But that's not the case. We can't treat things we find online like a free-for-all. The good news is that there are legitimate ways to use material we find online. But first, we need to be aware of three concepts: copyright, public domain, and fair use. Why is all of this so important? For one, there are legal reasons for protecting everyone's creative work. And there are also ethical reasons to give credit to the people who create the things we see and find online. Let's start with the legal reasons why we should think twice before copying and using someone's work. The first is copyright. Copyright is a legal protection that creators have over the things they create. Copyright requires people to get permission before they copy, paste, alter, or share what someone else has made. Most things that we find, download, and copy and paste from the internet are copyrighted. This means that the people who created them own the content and have a say in how they're used. But that doesn't mean that everything on the internet can't be used. Some creators indicate that their content is okay to be used by others, and other content might fall under what's called public domain. Let's look at what public domain means. When we search for content that's in the public domain, it means these creative works are not copyrighted and are free to use without permission by anyone, however they want. According to US law, some content becomes available as public domain after a certain number of years have passed since its creation. There are also specific images and documents published by the government that are considered public domain. So, when in doubt, search public domain to find a ton of things that are totally free to use. Now, if we want to use a photo, a video, music, or other content that's copyrighted, there are still a few things we can do. We can simply reach out and ask the creator for permission. Many creators are happy to give permission to reproduce their work, as long as they're given credit. The third concept to take advantage of is called fair use. Fair use allows us to use copyrighted work without permission, but only in certain ways and in specific situations. These conditions involve 4 areas to consider: amount, purpose, nature, and effect. First, we can only use a small amount of the original work. This means someone can't copy the whole copyrighted song in their dance video, but they can use a short clip of it. Second, there has to be a new purpose in the project, meaning that we transform the original work into something new and different. Next, it's easier to claim fair use if the nature of the original work is non-fiction or based in fact, rather than creative or fictional. And finally, we need to ask ourselves whether the effect of the new work negatively affects the creator or the value of the original content. For instance, are we charging for or making money off someone else's work? Claiming fair use is determined on a case-by-case basis, but it's more likely acceptable if it's 1, for schoolwork and education, 2, for criticizing or commenting on something, 3, for news reporting, or 4, for comedy or as a parody of something. We can think of fair use kind of like a square, and ask ourselves, is it fair and square? So that's the legal stuff. But let's not forget the ethical considerations when using content found online. Think about it. If you created something original and put it online, wouldn't you want others to give you credit for your work? What if they changed it or made money off it and no one knew you were the original creator? That's just not right. So remember, when we go online in search of things to use, keep these 3 concepts in mind: copyright, public domain, and fair use. We're all creative thinkers and creators, and it's always important to give credit where credit is due.
Oh, that was a lot. That kind of summarized everything. So now, let's just have a good discussion if you want. I'm happy to chat. You want to leave? It's already 5 o'clock. You're welcome to leave. And if you have more questions, please reach out to Jayashree and me. I'm happy to help, happy to share, happy to learn with you.
Yeah, any final question? We can take out 2 more minutes for one final question.
Yeah, I just have
Yeah.
a question to ask. So, when we use apps or certain sites which allow us to make presentations, right, or AI
Yeah,
tools for that matter, which basically make presentations for us,
correct.
right? How do we cite those? Like, if we do end up using them, how do we cite those?
Okay, so Adi, I don't know which part of the world you're in, but like they said, if you use it for educational purposes, for educating the students, you're also definitely going through all of the uh, content that is created from AI, which is fine. So first, you're using it under education purposes, so it's fair use. You're using it under fair use. Number 2, you're not publishing it and using it to make money, are you?
Correct. Yeah.
So and it is done within the laws of the domain of the school. And I would highly encourage you to ask your school that, do we have a policy in place? I'd like to read it. That will tell you where you are in place and where what your expectations are, what the organization's expectations are of you as a teacher.
Understood.
But if you are going to post it online, that presentation on your own website, for example, then you have to give credit and you have to say it is generated with the help of AI, assisted by whatever Frisk or whatever you're using.
Okay. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
yeah.
So great. I think on that note, I would really want to say a big thank you to Heeru. Heeru,
Thank you,
thank
Jayashree, for having me. It's such a heavy topic. No one's talking. I love to have someone chat, but no one's chatting. It's so serious.
But I thought there were a lot of questions, Hiru.
Yes.
So yeah, throughout the session, I think there were questions posed, and that was really heartening. And let me tell you, Hiru is very busy. She keeps traveling also on work, and in spite of all of that, she's taken out time for us. And thank you so
Pleasure.
very much, Hiru.
Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you, everyone, for being so patient with me. And if you have any questions, I'm going to stay back for another 5 more minutes. So if you want to
Sure.
hang out, I'm happy to hang out with you guys and chat. Just an FYI, something that I'm going to share with you, and it is being recorded, so I'm going to be a little careful not to say it very openly. After the recording, maybe I'll be more explicit and gung-ho about it. In India, lots of our children memorize a textbook and reproduce the content in their paper.
Yep.
So I want to ask you all, what and how can you explain that? So with that, I leave you to think about our education system and where we are heading, how useful that is or not.
Yeah.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, please. I love that
It's not,
conversation.
it is not a learning, no, it's know by heart. They know by heart, but the learning process did not happen and they are reproducing things. And I don't know how it will be on this kind of, on our modern times now. What is that, how we explain this action on papers or on their what they're being taught.
Yes, but they're, like you said, they're memorizing it and regurgitating the answers word to word from the textbook into the answer sheet of paper. Correct?
Yes, correct.
So if we think about it, is it plagiarism? Is it fair use guidelines? Fair use?
In the right
Or,
point of right now, it's all plagiarism.
I'm not saying it.
Okay.
That's a big question for us to think about. And our system, and what are we encouraging? What do we really want for our children, our own children?
Yeah.
Are marks everything? And if it is, then it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that answer.
So with that, we have a lot of to think in here. It's our responsibility also, because we are teaching it. So there are so
And
many
we are
implications.
exactly, and we are giving more marks to those children who are verbatim regurgitating or vomiting it on the test paper.
Yeah. True. Food for thought.
Food for thought. No answer to that question right now.
A lot of food for thought. I will be the whole week thinking about it. Thank you.
Ask
Thank you
your
very much,
children.
Mom.
Ask your children and see what they say. Talk to your people in your
Yeah,
family, and they will have a good discussion tonight on your dinner
Yeah.
table.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for joining us on this
Thank you,
session.
everyone. Hello.
Stay tuned for our next community of practice, which is coming up in March. And can I request Siddesh to take a screenshot? Can you all just turn on your
All
videos
please
for a
turn your
minute?
camera.
Turn on your cameras for a minute. Let's have a screenshot. Yeah, so Siddesh, you must tell us once you're done.
Everyone's not
Yeah.
on yet. We'll have to wait for a few more minutes, few more seconds rather.
Yes, done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank you
sent the
very much.
feedback link on the
Yeah.
message. So
So
please
please send your
fill the,
feedback right away. Also, you can put it on the chat.
yeah, I already.
So just a 1 minute feedback on a Google form for all the participants.
So
So
please fill before the, yeah.
it won't take more than a minute. So please do fill up and submit. And while you do that, please see that your name that you write in the feedback form is exactly the way you want it on your certificates. So we'll be sending you certificates of participation either on Monday or Tuesday. And you will get it if you submit it. Otherwise, we will not have your record. Yeah. Thank you so very much. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Heeru.
Thank you, Jayashree.
Yeah. Somebody says share again, please. So can you just share it again, Sidesh?
Yes, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Hi, Sush.